Have you ever speculated on the origins of the technology Bluetooth? Surprisingly, it was named after an influential Viking king, Harald Bluetooth, even though it is quite an unusual thing for a Viking to be known for. Denmark's King Harald is credited with bringing the nation together for the first time and also capturing Norway, which later had significant historical ramifications, and ultimately persuaded the Norwegians and Danes to convert to Christianity, thus founding a powerful dynasty. The son of Gorm the Old, the first monarch of a new line of the Danish dynasty, Harald Bluetooth, sometimes known as Harald Bluetooth, was born in or around 910. His mother was the daughter of a Sunderland lord. When his reign came to an end, Gorm had built a base of power at Jelling and had started to unite Denmark. Even though his father was a fervent devotee of the Norse gods, there it was oriented towards Christianity. Thus, it's probable that Harald had a good opinion of the Christian ideology when he was still a child. Harald was also the first Danish king to be baptized. Gorm was such a ferocious Woden devotee that during his 934 invasions of Friesland, he destroyed Christian churches. This was a poor choice since soon after, Gorm faced up against Henry I of Germany, also known as Henry the Fowler. Once Henry beat Gorm, he compelled the Danish king to not only repair those churches but also to tolerate his Christian subjects. Gorm fulfilled his obligations, but he passed away a year later, leaving Harald in charge of his realm. Harald Bluetooth, whose baptism was also connected to Frankish politics, helped Christianity gain a foothold. Considering that Harald was anointed in 958, his conversion to Christianity could have taken place around 906 years later. Archaeological evidence implies that he removed his parents' relics, presumably as a sign of his conversion to Christianity. He eventually established Roskilde as his new base of operations and helped to build the Danevirke military fortress. Also, he built up a network of strongholds including Trelleborg, Agersborg, Furkat, and Borgby. To carry on the work begun by his father to unite Denmark under a single authority, Harald started on this mission, which he later accomplished with great success. To protect his empire, he expanded some of the fortifications that were already there and also constructed additional ones. Under his rule, the Trelleborg ring forts, which are often regarded as the most significant relics of the Viking period, were constructed. Harald was also a firm supporter of the new policy of religious tolerance for Christians. As a result, Bishop Unni and Benedictine monks were granted permission to preach the gospel throughout Jutland. Even though he did not consent to get baptized personally, it appears that Harald encouraged the adoption of Christianity among the Danes. Harald also built a cordial working relationship with the bishop. When Harald finally felt at peace within himself, he was ready to start paying attention to what was going on in the outside world, particularly the events that included his biological family members. After his sister's husband, King Erik Bloodaxe of Norway, was slain in battle in 954, she fled to Harald with her 5 boys and sought refuge with Bluetooth. The lands that had been held by King Hakon in Norway were taken back by Harald with the assistance of his nephews. In the beginning, he faced significant opposition, and Hakon was even successful in conquering Jutland. But in the end, Harald emerged triumphant when Hakon was murdered on the island of Stord. Harald's Christian nephews gained ownership of their estates, and headed by Harald Greycloak, the eldest of the nephews, they started on a drive to unite Norway under one leadership. Regrettably, Greycloak and his siblings were somewhat harsh in their approach to the propagation of their faith. They disrupted pagan sacrifices and desecrated pagan sites of worship. As a result of the upheaval that ensued, unity became an improbable possibility, and Greycloak began to make alliances with its erstwhile adversaries. This did not sit well with Harald Bluetooth, to whom his nephews owed a great deal for his assistance in acquiring their lands, and his concerns were borne out when Greycloak was killed, presumably by his allies. Bluetooth used the chance to enforce his claims over Greycloak's holdings and, not long afterwards, was able to gain control of Norway. During this historical period, Christianity had been making significant progress across the country of Denmark. The Catholic Emperor Otto the Great, who was known to have a profound dedication to the faith, oversaw the establishment of several bishoprics in Jutland that were subject to the authority of the Pope. It is not clear exactly why this led to war with Harald. Regardless of the reason, a war broke out, and its precise conclusion is likewise unknown at this time. German sources claim that Otto broke through the Danevirke and placed strictures on Harald, including having him accept baptism and evangelize Norway. Norse sources claim that Harald and his supporters maintained their position. Despite the difficulties this conflict left Harald with, He demonstrated in the decade that followed that he still had a lot of influence. Harald took advantage of the fact that Otto's successor and son Otto II was preoccupied with the war in Italy by sending his son Svein Fortbird against Otto's fortification in Schleswig. Svein was successful in seizing the castle and driving the emperor's men further south. At the same time, the king of Wendland, who was Harald's father-in-law, launched an invasion into Brandenburg and Holstein and laid claim to Hamburg. Harald was successful in regaining the authority of all of Denmark as a result of the inability of the emperor's men to successfully defend against these raids. By the span of fewer than 2 years, Harald's progress that he had achieved in Denmark was wiped out, and he was now running away to Wendland to escape his son. The sources are unclear on the subject of how this unexpected turn of events came to be, but it's possible that it had something to do with Harald's emphasis on converting his people to Christianity, even though there were still a significant number of pagans among the aristocracy. Harald was killed in the war against Svein around the year 987. His body was carried back to Denmark. However, his final resting place is a mystery. Researchers have spent many years looking for his tomb, but have been unsuccessful. This mystery has given birth to considerable controversy, in part owing to the inclination of Vikings to roam around. Some sources claim Harald was placed to rest in the cathedral at Roskilde. Among medieval monarchs, Harald was not the most devout Christian, yet he did undergo baptism and tried his best to spread Christianity throughout his kingdoms of Denmark and Norway. He had the pagan grave of his father transformed into a church so that his family might worship there. Although the majority of the population did not become Christians during his lifetime, he did enable a significant amount of preaching. In addition to building the ring forts at Trelleborg, Harald also enlarged the Danevirke and left a spectacular runestone at Jelling as a memorial to his mother and father. He was so pleased with his accomplishments that he inscribed them on this massive runestone. This stone serves as a tribute to his parents, as well as a testament to his lasting legacy. And yet, Bluetooth's star was just about to rise higher. Centuries later, this peculiar name was chosen by the IT engineers who created the technology that enables wireless short-range connection of electronic gadgets to serve as the brand for their product. But if you're wondering where such an odd title for a king came from, the answer is that he was known by the nickname Bluetooth, which most likely alluded to a dead or decaying tooth. Yet other people believe that the blue hue of the king's teeth was due to his love for blueberries. This brings us to the end of this video. If you liked the video, please consider subscribing and sharing so we can keep bringing more content like this. Also, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. See you next time.